Everyone, my name is Amanda Buchanan. I appreciate you guys sticking with us today. I'm a program manager with the University of Arizona Center for Innovation. I've had a chance to meet many of you either through UACI or through our work with the Department of Energy, and so really excited to be here today. We thought that it would be a great opportunity to kind of combine some of our efforts that we're doing throughout our programs. And since so many of you have interest in looking for funding and finding funding, we thought it would be a great opportunity to talk today about SBIRs and STTRs and what kind of support is provided to applicants, especially first-time applicants. So that's going to be the focus of our efforts today. So just a quick summary of how UACI works with SBIRs as well as our relationship with the Department of Energy. We're one of 16 power connectors in the US. This list has grown, and what we're called power connectors because we've been identified to provide resources and support to applicants that are looking for different types of funding. SBIR is one of them, but there's many other prize challenges that we support as well as other power connector support. So maybe if you're looking to look at another prize or another funding opportunity and you'd like to know more about it, you can always reach out to us. And even if we are not the power connector assigned to that opportunity, we're happy to connect you to someone that is. But this is kind of a map of all the different power connectors located throughout the US. And so you can see that there's a big effort being applied to providing support to applicants. For this particular SBIR-STTR Phase 2, Department of Energy's Phase 2 program that's happening right now that's been currently opened. There's 5 power connectors that are working on it. We are one of them. ADL, Arrowhead Center, the Clean Energy Business Network, and Entrepreneur Futures Network are all working together jointly. And so we'll have opportunities to see events and support that will be provided by all of us throughout this time. So it's a great resource. And then, of course, on our team, Anita Bell, who will be working with us today, that many of you know, is the director of UACI, Casey Carrillo, the assistant director, and myself as program manager. Today, we would normally have Sonia Von Hout present. Today, she is our subject matter expert in funding strategies, and she is our expert in SBIR and STTR grants. And she will be with us throughout the rest of this program as we provide support to applicants. She will be here and available, and we'll even be hosting an office hours next week that I'll kind of touch on later. She could not be here today, but she's prepared a lot of the materials, and she works jointly with Casey, Anita, and I. And so if you haven't had a chance to meet Sonia, you'll get to know her a little bit more throughout the program. And she truly has a wonderful background, more than 30 years of experience in systems engineering, quality systems, business development, her expertise in SBIR and STTR programs, and she has some consulting services to assist small businesses. She's been doing this for many years, and she's really been a great asset to those that are looking for funding. And so today's objectives will just to go over what SBIRs and STTRs are with a focus on the DOE topics. We're going to talk a little bit more about what registrations are required, what you need to do to get started as soon as possible to make sure that you're able to submit if that is your desire, the resources that you have, just kind of go over the application process and timeline, and just learn a little bit more about the DOE solicitation, the topic areas, and the requirements. So I'm going to kick it over to Anita now and let her kind of jump in. Anita as well has many years of experience working on SBIRs and helping entrepreneurs find funding and successfully apply to, find topics, look through the SBIRs. She's helped support a lot of different workshops and around SBIRs. So take it away, Anita.
All right, thank you, Amanda, for this overview. And yes, I'll be also talking a bit quick, just so we make sure that we go through all the information. And then, quick overview of SBIR-STTR program. It has been around since the 1980s, and it is an authorized program through the federal government. I'll talk more about which agencies are participating shortly, but basically each of the larger agencies, federal agencies, have to set aside a portion of their annual budget to support this specific program. This adds up to over $3.5 billion every year that is available for this program. It is grants or contracts, and I'll talk about a little bit about that as well. But what is most important to remember, it is for US-based companies only, because it is funded by federal tax monies. So it is only available for US companies. And it also is available for innovative technology companies. So this is really a way of the government to de-risk some of those high risky technology innovations that the US is known for to develop. And this is the mechanism for that. And as you can see in the goals, that is the goal. It is to really be on the forefront of technology in the world by supporting these innovative small companies. And as an example, one of the sessions we did many years ago, there was a gentleman in the audience learning about this program, and what he had developed was a new barbecue sauce. So we did not think that that would be qualifying for the program. We are not the ultimate decider on that, but in this case, you know, there was no innovation other than a new flavor. So that's probably not going to be funded through this program. But then I know a lot of you have a very innovative items and technologies that are definitely suitable for this program. And then Amanda, I'll just say next, because she's running the show. So you'll hear say about SBIR-STTR as if it is one program, and it sort of is, the money does come all from that source, from the set aside from the different agencies. The difference between SBIR and STTR is mainly on how the money is being spent and who is the primary or the principal investigator on the project. So the SBIR, the Small Business Innovation Research Grant, that is the one that all of the agencies, all of the 11 agencies participate in. It also has a much larger fund available to them. And this one, the principal investigator needs to be the employee of the small business. And also I should mention, when I said only US companies can apply for this, they have to be small business. And I think the definition for this one is below 500 employees. And there's also a few $1 million in revenue, which again, I know at least our companies fall into that category. So at the SBIR, the principal investigator has to be employed by the small business. With the STTR, you have to have a connection with a nonprofit research institute. And a nonprofit research institute, in our case, a lot of times is the University of Arizona, because we are located here in Tucson. But most all of the universities, all of them that are nonprofit, can be a qualified research partner. And then there's also the national labs, like the National Research Energy Lab, or and of course the name escapes me, but there's a National Research Lab, Sandia. Exactly, in New Mexico. So those can also be those research partners for the STTR program. And the PI can be the employee of the small business or the research institute. So what we see a lot of times is, if it is a faculty member that has developed technology at a university and they're thinking of spinning this out of the university, they form a small business, they stay and for more than half-time employee at the university, and then they hire some business people to run the company, they often go for the STTR, versus if that person decides they want to leave the university setting and be part of their own company full-time or more than half-time, then they go for the SBIR. And also the topics vary, so it's not always that is the main driver behind that decision, but it's also, you know, who is the funder, where does the money come from, and what are the topics. So next slide on that one. So this one is the technical perspective, and this is really something that Sonia will know all about it. but what I want the takeaway on this one is that depending whether it is an SBIR or STTR, the R&D expenditure percentage where it is spent matters. So, for example, for an STTR, at least 40% have to be spent at a research institution, and for the SBIR, up to 2/3 need to be spent in the company. So this is something just for consideration as you develop your budget and your program, to understand that there's a difference in how the money is spent and where the money is spent. Next slide. Also, some of the agencies provide grants, some of the agencies provide contracts. And there's a slide in a moment where that is clarified who does what, because also some agencies do both. The main difference between a grant and a contract is that the grant is for, and she underlined it here, public purpose innovation, versus contracts are for specific outcomes. So you will see, for example, a lot of times the Department of Defense, they do almost exclusively contracts because they want to have a thing, a system, a device, a something at the end that they can actually purchase. So there's a very specific outline of what their expectations are, versus grants are much more, you know, you figure out what you're doing with this thing, this technology and this innovation, and then it should be good for the good of all. And then there will be, and it's fine to stay on the slide, there's some differences in how do you do your accounting and reporting between the grants and the contracts. So here is the list of the 11 agencies. So alphabet soup, I'll just run real quick through what they are. Starting at the top is Department of Defense. NASA, I think everybody knows who that is. Department of Homeland Security, Department of Transportation. NIST is the National something on Standards, and I don't know. Oh my gosh, and we're putting this on the YouTube. So NIST.gov will tell you exactly what this is, but it has to do with measurements and standards. I do know that one. HHS is the health. Oh my gosh, I am just bombing this one. I know NIH is National Institutes of Health, and I think Human Health Services, it came to me, so that's the HHS. Then we have the Department of Education, National Science Foundation, Department of Energy, U.S. Department of Agriculture, and NOAA is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Agency, I believe that's the name. So here you can see who does contracts and grants, and I did misspeak earlier. DoD does only do contracts, so you can see that the Department of Education and Human Health Services do contracts and grants. So you want to be understanding what it is that you're signing up for or applying to, so you understand that part. And then you can see that the folks that, like I said, the military, the NASA, they actually want to have a real outcome that they might be using in their programs moving forward in the agencies, versus the NSF, Department of Education, USDA are more, you know, it's a grant. We hope that your whatever you're developing is really for the benefit and the greater good of all. There's also columns, so you can see there's only 5 agencies that participate in the STTR program. So that's the Department of Defense, the NASA, HHS, NSF, and DOE. So if you are considering to go for an STTR for the mentioned reasons, that you have a faculty member on the team, or you are a faculty member and you really would like to keep this position, or you're working with a faculty member who wants to keep the position and really do a lot of the work at the research institution. So the STTR program would be that one. There's a lot less money in the STTR program because it is a smaller portion of the budget. But sometimes it's a better chance to get that because there's fewer applicants, because there's those additional criteria. So here a little bit more with the difference between the grants and the contracts. Like I mentioned before, the grants is much more flexible, open. You define pretty much what you want to work on, and then the granting agency would, of course, need to understand and agree with that work, versus the contract is much more specific. There is an objective at the end that's already stated in the solicitation. And so when you do this contract, you're agreeing that you're working towards this outcome. Here are the budgets. And to no surprise, the Department of Defense has the largest budget for SBIR and STTR because they're the largest agency in the US government. And it is a percentage of the budget. So hence, if you have the largest budget, you also have the largest budget for SBIR. And then the number 2 is the NIH and HHS, and then followed by NSF. NSF oftentimes surprises me that their budget is smaller because they also do a lot of grants and other funding opportunities for researchers directly at academic institutions, but that's a different bucket of money. So the bucket of money that you see here in the gray for NSF is strictly for SBIR and STTR. So that's why that sliver is a little bit smaller. And so a lot of the companies that we serve here are going after the NSF and the NIH. And I know, of course, we're doing this session conjointly and with the focus on Department of Energy. So I know, I'm not sure which color that is. Oh, it is the lighter blue. So it is a fairly decent sliver of the pie. And of course, it adds up to millions of dollars as well. And when Amanda takes over, she will talk much more specific about the Department of Energy situation. But just so you have an idea, there is a lot of money to be had. And of course, we support you all in figuring out on how to go after this money to support your company objectives. All right, is this me or is that you, Amanda? That's me still? All right, I'm sorry, I lost track of my count. So the application process, what we absolutely encourage you to do, if you're even considering applying for SBIR or STTR and think that you qualify and you're pretty certain that you will do this, you should put in your application at grants.gov as soon as possible. You will need to have set up a small business because only small businesses are allowed to apply for this program. So this is not for individuals. It is for companies and legal entities. So you should have an LLC or C Corp or S Corp set up, and you should have an employee ID number from the IRS that you will need to set up. You will need to get your DUNS number, which will be changed to the unique entity identifier in the near future. So there's always changes to the programs and the processes. So you have to be staying on top of that. You will have to complete the SAM registration. And again, I'm not sure what SAM stands for. It's another acronym for some management system that the government works with. And yes, you will have to put in your account number for the business on that one. So after you set up your company and have your EIN, you need to set up an account for the company because that is how you get paid. So the money doesn't come in a check, it comes through the system. And then once you have all those numbers, you can finish the grants.gov registration with all those numbers. Again, to make sure that your application can be received and that you can receive the feedback. And then if you were to be selected for a grant or contract, that you can also receive the money. This takes some time, so don't wait. So again, as soon as you decide that you want to do this, you should go ahead and apply for that. It takes a few weeks sometimes that all the numbers go through, and we don't want that to be the holdup that you cannot submit. Let's see, SBA must also be registered if you are doing this, and then you need to sign up. Oh, this is specifically for Department of Energy. You have to sign up for the PAMS system. So you can submit your letter of intent, which Amanda will talk a little bit about that. So what the takeaway on this slide is, make sure you read the fine print, make sure you understand what you have to register for, and do that as soon as possible, because again, it can take sometimes a few weeks to get all those done. And we don't want you to lose out on anything because you missed a deadline on this. Next slide.
Yes, and I would just also mention that if you have registered in the past, and you need to make sure your SAMS is updated annually. So you might want to just go log in right away and double check that you're registered and there's not anything pending that you need to check on before your LOI is due.
Yes, thank you, Amanda. SAM every year. We've ran into that once. How does the funding work? So this one, Department of Energy does the three-phased approach. So there is a phase 1 and a phase 2, and then the phase 2A and the phase 2B and the phase 2C. You have to first apply and be approved or selected for phase 1 grant or contract. And the Department of Energy has biannual funding opportunity announcements. So that means only twice a year do they announce what they're looking for and open the window. And so only twice a year can you apply. So this goes back to, we encourage you to get all the administrative stuff out of the way. So when the application window opens and you see something that, or you have something that you really want to submit, you don't have to scramble and do all those things. So do this now. And then when you apply for the phase 1, the money on that one is $200,000 to $250,000, and the length of time is 6 to 12 months. And there is typically 350 to 400 awards every year because, again, based on the budget. So you take the budget divided by how much money they give out. This is what it comes out to. I don't know how many applications there are each year. But typically, SBIR-STTR are very competitive. There are basically thousands of applications for those, few hundred awards each year. So you want to be really concise, follow all the rules. I know 15 years ago, if you forgot to check a box or you had a misspelling or you missed something, they would get back with you and say, hey, you forgot to do this or attach that. That is not the case anymore. It is so competitive now. If you don't check a box or you're missing something or you're over the allotted amount of pages, they just throw out your application because they just get so many that it's an easy no for them. Once you get awarded a phase 1 and you complete the work, then you're eligible to apply for the phase 2. And I'm not that familiar with the Department of Energy's A, B, and C situations, but the takeaway is that typical phase 2 is for 2 years, and the typical amount of money is $1.1 to $1.6 million. So, which means the phase 1 is mostly a proof of concept. So if you have your idea and you need to prove this out with more technical research, some sort of building out something, that's what the phase 1 is. And when you successfully complete that, the phase 2 is really this next level of almost getting it into production, not full production, but near the end of the 2 years. That's the goal, to have that at. And as you can see, there's only about 160 awards for the basic phase 2. And as I mentioned, you have to have had a phase 1 to get a phase 2. So they select about less than half of the phase 1 recipients, then receive the phase 2 to continue working on the project. There is TAVA available. TAVA is technical and business assistance. And I know we just talked a little bit more specific about Department of Energy, but TAVA is available at many different agencies. So even if you apply for an NSF or another agency, you want to make sure you understand if there's a TAVA available. And that is for phase 1, you can get up to $6,500 to get additional resources and money for your commercialization efforts. And for the phase 2, that's $50,000. And you can select your own provider to do this TAVA work for you. This is something we recommend you connect with Sonia about. She has done TAVAs before, so she's a vendor that can fulfill that assistance, and she can tell you additional resources and how you may be able to incorporate into your project. And I think this is the phase 1 and 2, phase 1 release 2 schedule. Sorry about that. So that means that for the fiscal year 2023, the second, remember I said it's biannual. So this is the upcoming second release of topics. And for the 23 government schedule. So the government runs on a fiscal year of October 1 through September 30. So that sometimes is a little funky to remember, because most companies, of course, run on the calendar year. So you always have to look at which actual calendar are they talking about. And then sometimes you may hear in the news that the SBIR program hasn't been reauthorized because it is part of the larger budget that the Congress has to approve. So the next time that there will be an application available for you to submit to is February 21 next year. The letter of intent, however, is due on January 3rd. And I think it will be Amanda who's talking more about the letter of intent.
Yeah.
And
I can jump in a little bit. Yeah, so this is our current release. And as you know, the topics are up. You can go take a look. We're specifically supporting the topics for solar and water, but so we're happy to dive into any questions related to those topics. But again, if you had any questions of other topics, we wouldn't turn you away. There'll be webinars on those topics that were happening this week, and so if you miss them, there'll be recordings, and we'll get that link in the chat for you so you can see all the access all of those webinars. And so we encourage you to kind of review the topics, go take a look at the webinars that happen so you can get a little bit more information from those actual offices. And then of the full FOA will be issued on the 16th. So we encourage you to be ready for that once it comes out and dive into that. And then again, LOIs will be due on January 3rd.
And so on this one, I want to also emphasize, this is the Department of Energy schedule. So I had talked about all the other agencies before. All of the agencies have different release schedules. So all of the agencies do all this, even though it's the SBIR-STTR program, all of them do them different. So, but one nice thing is, if you have innovative technology, you can look at the different agencies and see if it can be applicable to different agencies. You can do the same application. You may have to modify to fit their rules, but you can use the same technology to apply for different agencies. You can only accept one. So you may not double dip with the federal tax monies by taking money from the Department of Energy and the Department of Defense and from NSF. But rather at that point, you will have to decide which one you want to take. Doesn't happen all that often, but it has happened before. So we just want to make sure you're aware of that. And then, yeah, in case you're thinking, DOE is maybe not my thing, those are different dates than for the different agencies. Back to the Department of Energy. Those are the application and award timelines. So as you just saw what the calendar dates are, so December 16 is when you can look at the FOA, and then the letter of intent is due on January 3rd. You should -3 start looking at the topics, which is actually they have been already announced. So you should already look at the topics.
And I just put a link in the chat that goes directly to those topics, so you can look and see what topics are there now, as well as review the webinars that happened this week.
Excellent. And then when you have and you also must submit a letter of intent in order to be invited to do a full proposal. So consider that timeline. And then also, I think either I or Amanda will talk about how long it takes to write a proposal. So just make sure that you allot enough time in your other work structure that you can do a good job about submitting this proposal. Is this you, Amanda, or still me?
Sure, I can jump in here. So this just goes a little bit over the different program offices that are out of DOE. And so you'll find topics listed under each of these areas. And like I said, we particularly focus on the EERE areas and specifically the solar and water topics. But again, please reach out if you have questions on any of these topics, and we'll help you get to where you need to be and connect with anyone that's supporting those specific topics. But please, read through them, and I hope that you can, we're going to have another session that's specifically geared towards finding the right topic. So I hope you can join us for that as well. But this is a great time to, do your registrations on SANS and get registered on grants.gov, and then also going through the topics as you're waiting for the FOA to come out. We're kind of short on time, so I'll try to get through this so that we have time for questions. So again, here's the each of the topics, and take a look at that on your own, and we'll give you these slides afterwards so you'll have a chance to look through anything that we went through quickly. Topics are created by the DOE program managers, and they're really looking for breakthrough technology identified under each of those topic areas, and they're organized by the program office. And so each of those, they also have a PI assigned to each of those, and so we'll go in again in future sessions on how to connect with those offices, how to send in questions, get the answers you want, and be able to connect with the PIs. So the letter of intent, which is due again on January 3rd, we will go through another session that dives further into this and looks close, but this is just kind of another slide that you'll want to keep on hand. And again, we'll share this link out so you'll have a chance to look at it, but you must submit that LOI by the due date to be eligible. You'll get a response or non-responsive on those so that you can decide if you're going to be able to submit or not. And Sonia will be with us to really dive into this, but general content will be a title, topic, and subtopic. You'll have 500 words or less to do an abstract. You'll want to list your collaborators and be able to provide all your small business information. And so again, be on the lookout for a session on this, and we want to be able to support you in getting that LOI submitted. And the elements of an application, you are required to do a project narrative for phase 1, 7,500 words, no more than 15 pages. Phase 2, no more than 20 pages and no more than 10,000 words. Budget and budget justification. There are sessions on how to prepare a budget and budget justification. So be on the lookout for a list of all the offerings by UACI as well as other power connectors, so you can get an idea of what you might need and the support you need. There are sessions dedicated to budget. So if that's an area that you need some support in, we really encourage you to attend some of those sessions. And then key personnel, you're asked to provide a resume for each person listed in your budget. You're also asked to put together a commercialization plan. And after the LOIs are due, we will continue supporting applications. And in that, we'll also be hosting some commercialization workshops that will just kind of give you a broad overview of commercialization in general, give you introductions to different areas that will help you in writing your commercialization plan. Let's see, Anita, do you want to cover support programs? Is this an area you want to go over?
Yes, sure. Okay. Sorry about that. I was just reading the chats and I'm looking for the forward date because it says it might be on the 16th or the 12th. So we'll clarify that. Let's see. So yes, the Department of Energy, just like all the other agencies or most of the other agencies, have additional support programs available to you as a potential proposer. So there are so many webinars. If you're interested in anything related to SBIR-STTR, to the agencies, you can just Google it. You can go on Eventbrite, just like our session today is available. We focus it on our companies that are in the program at the incubator, but also at the companies that we're working with under our DOE contract. There are other agencies and organizations do this all the time. So we definitely encourage you to do that. There is an I-Core, Energy I-Core. So that would be available for awardees, but it is very highly recommended. This helps you really hone in on your customers. Department of Energy is one of the agencies that will not purchase your system, whatever it is that you developed. They are not likely to buy that themselves, but rather you will have to find a customer, which may be a utility or some other commercial entity to buy the output of that. So that's a great opportunity and program to figure this one out. And then, as I mentioned, there is money available sometimes for example, the phase 0 assistance. You have to really be on top of it, sign up for the newsletters that they have so you fully understand what is available. Work with someone like Sonia, or if there's another preferred support person that you like, to really be on top and knowledgeable about how you're eligible and when those things are due for you to take advantage of. That's me.
Yeah. So quick summary. Yeah. So, estimate, this is Sonia's recommendation that she's provided us. So, she's estimated others that have worked on these need somewhere between 100 to 200 hours. So with that application being due in February and LOI due in January, it really is starting now. Register early, communicate with the program manager and attend any webinars or watch recordings that you can. She really recommends that you read the solicitation and follow instructions carefully, reach out when you have questions. So the next, finding the right topic will be on November 29th. And then we will go into the letter of intent on December 6th. Writing your proposal and evaluation criteria will be on December 13th. And legal process and data rights will be on January 3rd. So these are all of the UACI sessions that we'll be holding. And then just some additional SBIR-STTR resources. I put in the chat the funding opportunity and then all the topic webinars. Some of these have already passed, but when you click on this link at the top, which is in the chat, as soon as they're able, they will list the actual recordings, so you can go back and record those. If you are a very first time applicant to SBIR and you've not received funding before, you could apply for applicant support through phase 0. And here's a link for that. And we do encourage you to go on and do that if you have not received funding in the past. And if you want some more information, you just want to talk that through, feel free to reach out to me and I'd send you some additional information on how to apply for that support. And again, here are some, if you want some general questions or you have a question that maybe you feel like you want to go directly to the source, you can email either of these email addresses for a water topic or a solar topic. And any response they give you, they will make public. So any question you ask, they'll also share that with all the applicants so that those questions go on and other people that may have similar questions can have the answers to those. Again, just to show that today's presentation and all of our efforts are in conjunction with the Department of Energy and part of their SBIR-STTR America Seed Fund program. And so that's just to kind of show our partnership and how we work with them. And you'll see this information on any of their sites as well. So you can find some of our upcoming webinars there as well.